We have a new injury update around Torrey Craig, and we're also going to be looking at the recent play of Lonzo Ball, Zach LaVine, and Vooch, and if that will help the Chicago Bulls front office pick a direction as they get ready to head into this upcoming trade deadline. This is your host, Rico Greenhowe, and you have found yourself on another episode of Bulls Digest. And so today we're going to be looking at the most recent injury update around Torrey Craig and how that is going to impact the Chicago Bulls. And then also with the recent play of Lonzo Ball, LaVine, and Vooch, does this now help the front office pick a direction as they head into the trade deadline? And so let's go ahead and start with Torrey Craig and the recent injury update around him. And so it looks like that he is set to be reevaluated in 2 weeks with the right ankle sprain. And so initially, I think that this absolutely does impact the Chicago Bulls because I do feel like if he was available, I could definitely see that Billy Donovan would certainly put him out there. I know that there have been games where he has not played, but I would have to think that Torrey Craig might be getting some minutes at this point in time, especially with the way that Patrick Williams has struggled. We know that Billy Donovan does trust his veteran players, and so I would think that Torrey Craig would definitely have a say if he was healthy right now. And he's played pretty good in some of the games that he's had to play in, whether it's been a spot start or he's had to play some extended minutes. He's been ready to go, so I definitely give him a lot of credit for being professional there, especially if you're not getting some game. And then so next up, how does this impact the Chicago Bulls? Well, if you think about this timeline with 2 weeks, that's going to put him essentially right around 10 days or so away from the trade deadline. And I've said this before with Torrey Craig, the way that he has played, I think that certainly a contender or a team that needs to really strengthen their bench and they need somebody that can give them, some length defensively and knock down some three-point shots. I think that Torrey Craig would certainly be a player that you would want to come and get via a trade. And so, I think that this could impact maybe his trade value going forward. Who knows? Because you still have to think about the fact that in 2 weeks, reevaluated means that maybe he's ready to go. And then even if he is, there's probably still going to be a ramp up period or a reconditioning period. And so I think that maybe that does play a little bit of a factor maybe for the Chicago Bulls if they are looking to, go ahead and maybe move on from Torrey Craig. Who knows? We've heard the reports that, everybody is maybe available on this team. But again, that is just the trade rumors out there around us. And so next up, I wanted to talk about Zach LaVine, Lonzo Ball, and Vooch and just their recent play. And does that really now help AK, I think, make a decision going into the trade deadline or really give him a direction as we move forward? And so, when I look at Lonzo Ball, starting with him, look, I think that it's been just fantastic to see him come back the way that he has, to see him start a game. And then we saw him hit, I think, a season high in three-point shots in this last game out, 15 points. He had the 3 assists. 26 minutes, 5 of 8 from 3. And so it looks like his minutes continue to trend up defensively, which is one of the things I think he talked about that might actually be a challenge for him. I don't think that has been a challenge really from day one. I think that he's probably like one of our better defenders. And he still has just the basketball IQ to really impact your team. It doesn't matter if he's starting or coming off the bench. And so I definitely think that if you're looking to go out and you're wanting to add a veteran player that can impact your team, I certainly think that Lonzo Ball has definitely shown that he can be that player. And with Zach LaVine has completely just, I think, just gone away from all the negative narratives, I think, coming into this season about him being a winning player and just him being injury prone and things like that. Like, I think that every game he continues to move further and further away from that. And this whole situation about, being a good teammate and things like that, like, I think he's been an outstanding teammate and a great leader for this team as well. And so I think he's just debunked those kind of, rumors and things like that. And Zach LaVine, man, he continues to play at an all-star level. I hope he gets there. And he's just shown that maybe he's added to his game a little bit because he's finishing a lot better at the rim than he was a season ago. He's also converting, I think, a lot more of those mid-range or turnaround jump shots. And he's also, too, just seems to be a bit more comfortable shooting the three-point shot this year. I know the offense has been geared to it. So all that, I think that LaVine has been on the up and up. And with Vuce, look, even though he's kind of fallen off a little bit as far as percentages, he's still a walking double-double. He's still shooting the basketball a lot better from the three-point line than he was a season ago. And he is taking the basketball inside. He has made really just the effort to get there, and he's converting as well. And he's been a great source of offense for this team, especially when, they're thinking, look, the three-point shot is not there. We can go down to Vuce and we can get a basket. So he's been a great source of half-court offense for this team, when the three-point shot slows down. And so with all three players playing well, I'm saying that to say this. I'm not sure that is going to make AK be necessarily a seller at the trade deadline. And I'm not sure if, at the end of the day, he's still going to make any type of moves that lead to a major shakeup. In fact, I'm not in the front office, and this is just an opinion, but it feels like to me that as this team continues to win basketball games, I think that maybe you might see another quiet trade deadline coming up for the Chicago Bulls because they have the Pelicans, they have the Hawks, they have the Hornets, they have the Trailblazers coming up. All these are winnable games, especially with the Pelicans and the injuries that they have had. The Hawks are a team that we have done well against. And it's kind of like a similar situation with the roster construction with the Hawks and us. But we've done very well, especially when Ayo has been healthy, and perhaps maybe he's healthy for that game. The Hornets, that is a team that, we've gotten the win against them, even though it was tough. And the Trailblazers, look, they've gone through a rebuild situation, or they're going through a rebuild situation, and it necessarily hasn't gotten to the place maybe that they want to. But still, these are games that the Chicago Bulls should, in fact, win. And so I just think that as we continue to win these games, I think we move further away from maybe AK thinking that he has to make a major shakeup and maybe giving this group another chance, much like what he talked about, I think, in the last offseason, and feeling like he wanted to give this group another chance. And I think that as you continue to see Lonzo Ball play, I think that you start to hear maybe a little bit more of the kind of what ifs, rumblings, like what if he was, healthy back then. And it's almost like I think AK wants to see, what can happen now that Lonzo is healthy with LaVine and Vuce playing this well. I could see him wanting to continue to trend with this team. And so one thing that we do know, and this is according to Julia Poe, and this came out just a couple days ago, and this was in the Chicago Tribune, is that the Chicago Bulls right now, it's still very silent around them as far as the status quo and just, the Bulls kind of engaging into some serious trade conversations as you see. The front office is open and hearing offers for every player on the roster, as the league source has said. But, even the promising young players such as Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu aren't drawing much attention on the trade market. And so, I'm just taking that one piece out of this article, but I thought that this was important because this ties into what I'm saying. It's very quiet around the Chicago Bulls, and even around some of these talents like the younger talent that we have with Ayo Dosunmu and Kobe White. I'm not in the camp of trading either of those players, even though I know that we are going to be moving into a contract year soon. I still very much believe in those players. I think that they're building block players, And I just think that the bottom line is that, with Zach LaVine, I think that some teams just aren't willing to go in because of the contract and the CBA. I think that that's more the issue there. With with Lonzo, I could see it happening more and more as time goes along. I'm not sure if the team is truly going to commit to that, and is AK going to come off of Lonzo or Vooch, because Vooch is another contract that can be movable. But again, if AK feels that this team can still somehow make some noise the way it is, then I could see that this front office maybe stays the same with just going ahead and pushing forward. And also, I think the last question that we really have about AK and just moving forward, even with this great play that we're seeing from these guys that have been in the trade rumor mill, so to speak, is just, with AK, it's more like, is he reluctant, man? Does he really want to do this? Does he really want to tear this team down for a pick? I don't necessarily see him wanting to tear the team down to really go into a tanking situation. And I get the real feeling from AK that he wants to just try to remain as competitive as possible. And that means that if you're not willing to make a major shakeup, then the team is going to stay the same. We're probably trending towards being a play-in team. And I'm not saying that AK is wrong by saying that he's not going to sell off assets at a low value, because I absolutely believe that you should not do that. You don't attach assets to move off of either of these players either. And so I agree with AK there. And so, one of the things that's talked about in that article that I just mentioned is just, is anybody going to really be buying what AK is selling? And so that is a question. So make sure you check that article out. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think that, yes, the recent play behind Lonzo, with Zach LaVine and Vooch is going to get AK to maybe get some trades going for this team? Or do you feel like, I think that their recent play is actually going to have AKs really stand still this upcoming trade deadline, which is set to take off here in about 24 days. Officially is when the trade deadline is. So I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. I just want to thank everybody out there for liking, subscribing, and sharing to the content. It means a lot to us here at Bulls Digest as we try to reach our goal of 5,000 subscribers before the end of the NBA season out there. Wanted to let you know about 66.8% of you that watch are not subscribed to the channel, so make sure that you go ahead and you mash on that subscribe button, as it means a lot to us as we try to reach our goal of 5,000 subscribers. And look, regardless of what the Chicago Bulls are thinking when it comes down to the trade deadline, you've got to have a plan. And, if you're getting assets back, it has to be something that makes sense for the long-term build of this team. And so I just think that that's the bottom line. Hopefully we see that with the Chicago Bulls moving forward, is a real plan of what they want to do, because right now we clearly are in a situation where we still have pieces from our old team and that base. And then we also are kind of flirting with, are we going with maybe the younger players and just trying to mix that in with player development? So a little bit of a mess, and I think that you got to have a plan to try to figure this out. But anyway, let me know. And once again, go Bulls. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.